Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Ages of Chaos. Now, I know we said last time that we were going to be doing the Death Guard for the next look at the 10th Ed Chaos indices. However, I have an intimation, given how poorly they've been performing across the stage, they are going to be having an upgrade relatively soon. Given how quickly Games Workshop responded to the overpoweredness of the Eldari and the Imperial and the Astra Militaria and whatnot, I think that the Death Guard, being currently at the bottom of the pile, are probably going to be getting a little bit of an upgrade soon, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's quite significant. Probably more akin to the more extreme changes that you got from the Eldari index than just, a general points upgrade or whatever. So, what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at some of the more sort of undivided Chaos forces first, then we'll take a look at the cult-specific ones, the Thousand Sons, the Death Guard, and indeed the World Eaters. So for this one, since we did the Heretic Astartes, the Chaos Space Marines last time, we'll do the Chaos Demons this time. Now, we already had a look at their army-wide special rule when their preview came out, but we'll go over it again just for completion's sake. Like all of the Chaos forces, like all the forces in 10th Ed, they have their own army-wide special rule. And for the Chaos Demons, it's the Shadow of Chaos. And this is really cool, actually. It's kind of new. There hasn't really been anything quite like this before. But what it represents is the way when demonic incursions occur, you're not just fighting against the physical manifestations of the demons, you're fighting the warp. The warp and chaos are manifesting in the environment around you and are causing the laws of reality to upend themselves and invert, and it's essentially what it is. It's a way for the demons to saturate the battlefield. So, if your army faction is Legionis Demonica, so that's what they're calling them, that's their keyword at the moment, certain areas of the battlefield are considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos as follows. Your deployment zone is always within your army's Shadow of Chaos. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within No Man's Land until the end of that phase, No Man's Land is also within your army's Shadow of Chaos. And given how demons deploy, that's not hard. That's actually not difficult. You've got to think about how you do it, because of course if you are in No Man's Land, then you're very likely open to long-range firepower, which the demons are particularly vulnerable to. But even so, at the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within your opponent's deployment zone until the end of that phase, your opponent's deployment zone is within your army's Shadow of Chaos. So you can saturate the battlefield, which is really cool. There's also demonic manifestation. While a Legiones Demonica unit from your army is within your army's Shadow of Chaos, each time that unit takes a battle shock test, add 1 to the test, and if that test is passed, one model in that unit regains up to die 3 lost wounds. If that unit is a battle line unit and that test is passed, up to die 3 destroyed models can be returned to that unit instead. So when demons are within the Shadow of Chaos, they regenerate. They become much more powerful, much more durable, and to play demons successfully in 10th Ed, you're going to have to learn how to best utilize that effect, because they are vulnerable to things like shooting and whatnot, as they've always been. There's also the Demonic Terror special rule. While an enemy unit is within your army's Shadow of Chaos, each time that unit takes a battle shock test, subtract 1 from the test, and if that test is failed, that enemy unit suffers die 3 mortal wounds. Now, in previous editions of 40k, that wouldn't have been any great shakes because morale and leadership were much diminished. In 10th Ed, that's brilliant. In 10th Ed, that's actually quite strong, because if you can force battle shock tests, which you can with a lot of special rules in the Demon Index, and if you can diminish your opponent's ability to pass them, as you can here, you can really disrupt their battle plan. It can be potentially very useful. There's also the Demonic Pact special rule, which is unique to demons, and effectively it enables other Chaos forces to take limited numbers of demon units as part of their force, which is really quite nice. I mean, that's a return to the old days of your sort of super polyglot Chaos forces, which I really, really like. So, We also have the detachment special rules, which is warp rifts for demonic legions. Demonic legions tear through the fabric of real space, malevolent entities flickering into being like phantasms from a nightmare. Worse still, as terror and panic take hold of their victims, so their mortal souls become even easier prey for the entities pouring through from the warp. Each time a Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, if it is set up wholly within your army's Shadow of Chaos, it can be set up anywhere that is more than 6 inches horizontally away from all enemy models instead of more than 9 inches. So again, it means that you're going to be able to perform maneuvers very early on after deep striking, which is really, really cool. It means that you are going to be able to set up much closer to enemy units, and it also means that your opponent is not going to be able to block off parts of the battlefield for the purposes of deep striking and reserves as easily as they otherwise would. It's quite useful, and again, it's something you've got to kind of learn how to use tactically for the demons, because they do have certain weaknesses, as they always have in 40k. Just like all the others, they have 6 stratagems to use. So they have corrupt real space. Demons instinctively feel the need to despoil and corrupt every corner of real space, the better to sustain their otherworldly forms. This is at the start of any command phase. The target is 1 Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. And what it does, that objective marker is said to be corrupted and remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it. So it's sticky, it's essentially sticky objectives. Can be potentially very useful. Very, very useful indeed. Draft of Terror. This one, the swelling fear of their mortal prey, serves as an intoxicating elixir to the demonic followers, each draft invigorating their forms with deadly power. This is in your shooting or fight phase. The target is 1 Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. And what it does, until the end of the phase, improve the armor penetration characteristic of weapons equipped by models in that unit by 1. In addition, until the end of the phase, each time such a weapon targets a unit that is battle-shocked, you can re-roll the wound roll. So once again, it's really the whole ethos, the flavour of Chaos Demons is that they affect leadership primarily. They affect morale and psychology very profoundly, and that's really what they've gone for here. In many respects, it's kind of a return to the old days when demons used to do this, when they had really profound psychological effects on the game, way back in like Second Ed this was. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of a nice throwback. We've got Warp Surge. The winds of the warp blow strong, invigorating demonkind and lending them supernatural speed and ferocity. This is in your charge phase. Target any Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army that is within your army's Shadow of Chaos. Effect, until the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to declare a charge even if it advanced this turn. So very useful for setting up early charges and making sure that they go off, because you can advance and charge, which is really, really good. Works very well in conjunction with the army-wide special rules. You are going to, for the most part, unless you're taking maybe a Zeech demon army exclusively, you are going to be wanting to get charges off quite early and quite often, and you're going to have to make sure that they're successful, because that's the way this army works. Denizens of the Warp. Even lurking in the warp, demons will wait until the barriers between realms thin before tearing their way into real space. This is in your movement phase. The target is 1 Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army that is arriving using the Deep Strike ability this phase. And what it does, your unit can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches horizontally away from all enemy units. Restrictions: a unit targeted by this stratagem is not eligible to declare a charge in the same turn. No, because that would be mental, quite frankly. That would be quite powerful, but it's still very good. It means again that you can disrupt the enemy, especially if you're deep striking in a sacrificial unit like say flamers or something like that can cause long range damage, or that can soak up lots of damage like plague bearers or like pink horrors. This is quite nasty on pink horrors, actually. It's borderline broken on pink horrors, that one. The Realm of Chaos. Chaos. When the energies of the warp bleed into real space, the Legionnaires Demonica can rip open portals in seemingly thin air, returning to their hellscapes only to rematerialize amidst their foes a heartbeat later. This is at the end of your opponent's turn. Up to 2 Legionnaires Demonica units from your army that are within your army's Shadow of Chaos, or 1 other Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army. The effect is they are remove the targeted units from the battlefield and place them into strategic reserves. They will arrive back on the battlefield in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase using the Deep Strike ability. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Again, you can use it to... If your battle plan isn't going quite right, if your opponent is pulling off some naughty shenanigans, you can remove precious units and put them somewhere else. Or you can trick your opponent. You can set up situations where they think you're going for one objective or, you know, for a charge in one area, and then you pull this stratagem out and you're actually not. You are maneuvering around. These kinds of stratagems are really useful. And it's cheap as well, only 1 command point. It's good. That's my phone. Demonic Invulnerability. Demons are madness given form. Their very bodies are fashioned from the stuff of the warp and are difficult to destroy through conventional means. This is in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its target. So the target is 1 Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of that enemy unit's attacks. And the effect, until the end of the phase, each time an invulnerable saving throw is made for a model in your unit, re-roll a saving throw of 1. So again, it's designed to make your units a little bit more survivable, particularly against shooting, which again they are particularly vulnerable to, as they always have been. Just like all the other armies, there are 6 enhancements following on from the model set up in the Heretic Astartes. There are 4 for each of the Chaos powers, and then there are a couple of undivided ones. So we've got the classic Argath, the King of Blades for Khorne. When a demon is bound within a weapon by its infernal master, it rarely submits willingly to this terrible incarceration. The same cannot be said for Argath. A lifetime of slaughter and zealous dedication saw this butcher granted demonhood. Such was his devotion to Khorne that instead of accepting immortality as a demon prince, he instead chose to take the form of a deadly blade, so that he could spill the lifeblood of Khorne's greatest enemies. Their hand-guided by Argath's spirit, this weapon's wielder becomes nigh on unstoppable. Countless are the rival champions and mortal heroes that have fallen to his power. Anyone can take, any Khorne miniature can take this. Add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristics of the bearer's melee weapons. While the bearer is within your army Shadow of Chaos, add 2 to the attacks and strength characteristic of this bearer's melee weapons instead. So, I mean, it might seem like a small upgrade, but when you put it on something like a Bloodthirster or a Demon Prince, it's actually really, really useful. Can be useful on the Bloodletter Herald miniatures too. It's what you'd expect from a Khorne unit. It enhances them in combat. Not that they need much enhancing in that regard. So for Nurgle, we've got the Endless Gift. Only the most accomplished plague demons are granted the Endless Gift. A disease of unutterable malignancy and repulsive beneficence. It changes form constantly from plague to infestation to malaise. The one constant is its ability to reknit its sufferer's corporeal form from even the most catastrophic of wounds. One moment, infernal bacteria may multiply like wildfire until their gelid mass fills a fleshy rent with fresh demon flesh. The next, pestilential vapours may billow from the demon's yawning maw, veiling its ravaged bulk before tattering away to reveal a form healed of its recent hurts. Very nice. Lovely description. Very sort of Lovecraftian, you know, very verbose. Nurgle Legionnaires Demonica model only. The bearer is the Feel No Pain 5+ ability. While the bearer is within your army Shadow of Chaos, the bearer has the Feel No Pain 4+ ability instead. So it just makes your big, nasty plague demons even more survivable. So when it's on like a Great Unclean one, it's very nice indeed. We have for Zeech the Everstave. This staff blazes with vibrant warp flame. As soon as its master takes up the Eldritch weapon, they too are wreathed in the same demonic fire. From within this magenta inferno, the Everstave's demonic bearer hurls searing gouts of Zeech's pink fire, turning armour to ash and immolating or irrevocably mutating the flesh beneath. So this is any Zeech Legionnaires Demonica model. Add 1 to the strength characteristic of the bearer's ranged weapons and increase the range characteristic of such weapons by 3. While the bearer is within your army Shadow of Chaos, add 2 to the strength characteristic of the bearer's ranged weapons and increase the range characteristic of such weapons by 6 inches instead. Again, very good. All of the Zeech demon characters have ranged weapons, and as you'll see in a moment, the Lord of Change has a really bloody good one, so that's quite nasty actually. Soul Stealer for Slaanesh. This gluttonous blade gulps down the souls of its victims before invigorating the corporeal form of its wielder. Its greed stems from the starving keeper of secrets bound within, an arrogant entity that sought to devour enough Eldari souls to challenge Slaanesh itself. Yeah, well done with that one. As punishment for the demon's monstrous hubris, Slaanesh trapped it within Soul Stealer, condemning the Keeper of Secrets to sustain other demons with its frenzied appetite, while retaining nothing for itself. Oh, poor baby. Slaanesh Legionnaires Demonica model only. Each time the bearer destroys an enemy model with a melee attack, roll 1d6, adding 1 to the result if the bearer is within your army Shadow of Chaos. On a 4+, the bearer regains 1 lost wound. So again, pretty good on something like a Keeper of Secrets, actually. Pretty damn good. So let's move on to the actual units, shall we? First off, we've got Scarbrand. Scarbrand, I mean, like all of what they've done with the greater demons and the big demon characters is they've elevated them to basically even above Primarch level. I mean, this guy, if this guy and Angron ever have a throwdown, it's difficult to see who would win. They're very similar, I mean, but Scarbrand actually has better characteristics than Angron. He has more wounds, for one thing. He has his Bellow of Endless Fury, which is a very short-range torrent attack, which is very nice. In melee, he's a frigging beast, as you can imagine. Slaughter and Carnage, both of his axes, he can strike or sweep with them, as all the big monsters can. He can do his strike, which has 8 attacks at strength 16, and does 6 damage. I mean, that's bonkers. He's going to be killing characters left, right, and centre. There are even, like, the Primarchs are going to have difficulty against this guy. That's what he is. You want to chuck him at the biggest thing on the battlefield. I mean, even like Swarms, he's got 16 attacks with his sweep at strength 8, and that's damage too, so he's going to be taking stuff down with that as well. He's got a special rule, an aura, which is rage embodied. While a friendly Khorne Legionnaires Demonica unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, is within 6 inches of this model, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. So it makes your Bloodletters and Fleshhounds killier, basically, which is always lovely. He's also got another aura, Murderlust, so while a unit, so not a friendly unit, any unit is within 6 inches of this model. Each time that unit is selected to fall back, it must take a leadership test. If that test is failed, that unit must remain stationary this phase instead. So you can't run away. He stokes rage, so you cannot run away, which is really, really rather lovely. Nice model. I mean, really powerful, very tough. He's going to be an absolute killer, he is. Just like in the last Demon Codex, the Bloodthirsters, the various different kinds, have just been rolled into one profile, which makes sense, you know, and the different versions are just equipped with different things, so that makes a lot of sense. They are, as they have always been, they are monsters. They are absolute monsters. Primarch scale, these guys. Again, most of the Primarchs are going to struggle against these guys. Not some of the Demon Primarchs can take them down, but Robite and the Lion, tricky. It's going to be an epic combat. That they are more what they've always been in the fluff, actually, which is on that level. These things are absolute monsters. So they can be equipped with all sorts of stuff. They've all got Hellfire Breath, which is a nice torrent weapon. They can have Blood Flails, which is a long-range weapon with devastating wounds, and does dice 6 plus 1 damage at strength 16. It's mental, that is. Lash of Khorne, which is another long-range attack, but which is slightly weaker. They can be armed with your standard Axe of Khorne or a Great Axe of Khorne. And the standard Axe of Khorne generally has more attacks, but isn't quite as strong, whereas the Great Axe has lesser attacks, but is insanely strong and does more damage. Again, like most of the big characters, they've got aura abilities. So they've got the Demon Lord of Khorne. While a friendly Khorne Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll. and the Relentless Carnage rule. At the end of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within engagement range of this model and roll 8 die 6. For each 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Yeah, they're mad. Bloodthirsters. I mean, Bloodthirsters have always been amazing in the fluff, and they have a bit of a reputation for how nasty they used to be. They're nasty again, I can tell you that. For special characters in Khorne, we've got Skull Taker, who's your kind of like a bloodletter champion. He's kind of cool. He is effectively a character assassin. So his big thing is that he challenges characters to duels. So his weapon, the Slayer Sword, has devastating wounds and precision. He has 6 attacks with it, strength 6, armor piercing -2 at damage 3. There are not many like non-monster characters that can stand up against him. He also has special rules, Lord of Decapitation. While this model is leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the devastating wounds ability. Your bloodletters, when he joins them, become crazy good. Crazy good. Skulls for Khorne. Each time this model makes an attack that targets a character unit, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll. So yeah, you're going to be sending him after enemy characters, because he will fuck them up. He's a really, really nasty piece of work, this guy. Each time this model destroys an enemy character unit, which is going to be often if you're playing him right, you gain 1 CP. So again, he has that ability that allows you to regenerate command points, which is really useful in 10th Ed, because you don't get many of them. He's very, very lovely indeed. You got your Bloodmaster, your Bloodletter Herald. He has the Blade of Blood, which is, again, really nasty. 5 attacks, strength 6, damage 3. Again, nasty piece of work, this guy. Bloodmaster. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the wound roll. And a Gory Path. Each time this model's unit consolidates, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3. So again, he's making bloodletters killier. That's what he's for, and he's very, very good at it. Very good indeed. Nice miniature. For your Juggernauts, we've got the Skull Master. Again, he's got a Blade of Blood. He also has the Juggernaut's Bladed Horn, which are extra attacks. So this guy is always doing 9 attacks, which is crazy. Skullmaster's Fury. While this model is leading a unit, each time that unit ends a charge move until the end of the turn, Juggernaut's Bladed Horns equipped by models in that unit have the devastating wounds ability. Yeah. These guys are fantastic. Devastating Charge. Each time this model's unit ends a charge move, each enemy unit within engagement range of that unit must take a Battle Shock test. So they can also induce Battle Shock, which again, 10th Ed, really, really, really good. Really good. Very nice indeed. There's the Rend Master, which is the Blood Throne miniature. So this thing has the Attendant's Hellblade, so the Bloodletters who are situated on the throne, they have 4 attacks. And, Hellblades are nothing to sneeze at these days. They're 4 attacks, weapon skill 3, plus strength 5, armor piercing -2, and 2 damage. That's nasty. That's really nasty for a baseline troop unit. And the actual the Rend Master has his Blade of Blood, which is the same as the others. Aura abilities, Blood Throne. At the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to this model. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Khorne Legionnaires Demonica unit makes an attack that targets that unit, improve the strength, armor penetration, and damage characteristics of that attack by 1. That's great. That's really, really good. Again, it's long range, and again, it makes your Bloodletter units killier. So if you've got like a situated Bloodletter unit that already has a Herald with it, that's upgrading it, and you have this ability, yeah, nasty. Champion Slayer. Each time this model makes a melee attack that targets a character or monster unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. Each time this model destroys an enemy character or monster unit, this model regains up to die 6 lost wounds. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty lovely. Would make a very nice general, actually, in a smaller battle where you can't afford to take a Bloodthirster. We've got Karanak, the 3-headed Hound of Khorne, the Cerberus, effectively. He has a slightly different purpose in 10th ed, which is really nice. It's something I've noticed that they do with the named characters in 10th ed. They make them highly specialized, so they perform very particular functions. So he's got soul-rending fangs, which have the precision special rule. So again, he's going after characters. In particular, he's going after psychers. You want to take out enemy psychers with this guy. 6 attacks, weapon skill 2 plus, strength 6, armor piercing -1, and damage 2. So yeah, he's going to be killing things quite easily, really. Pack Leader. While this model is leading a unit of Fleshhounds, you can re-roll advance and charge rolls made for that unit. So again, he makes your Fleshhounds better. This is the really interesting rule. Prey of the Blood God. At the start of the first battle round, select one enemy unit to be this model's prey. Weapons equipped by models in this model's unit have the lethal hits ability when targeting this model's prey. Each time this model's prey is destroyed, select one new enemy unit to be this model's prey. He also has the Collar of Khorne, so the bearer has the Feel No Pain 3+ ability against psychic attacks. He's a character assassin. Again, very like Skulltaker. That seems to be the thing with the theme of Khorne in this codex. They are going after the enemy characters, which in 10th ed is actually very useful because a lot of the utility in 10th ed comes from your enemy's characters, right? You've got your bloodletters back, and they're very good. They're very good. They've had a bit of an upglow, which is nice. They've got, their save is awful, but they've got their 5+ invulnerable save, which is really nice. Toughness 4, so they're pretty standard in that regard. They've got their Hellblades, which we talked about earlier, which given the number, they're going to be putting out a lot of attacks, these guys. A lot of attacks at damage 2, and with high armor piercing. They're pretty good. Their special rule, Blood Begets Blood. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, re-roll a wound roll of 1. If that attack targets a unit that is below half strength, you can re-roll any wound roll instead. Very nice. Demonic Icon. Models in the bearer's unit have a leadership characteristic of 6+. Okay, that's fine. So it makes them more likely to pass Battle Shock, which is very useful. And Instrument of Chaos, add 1 to the charge rolls made for the bearer's unit. Very nice. They're quite a doughty little unit, the Bloodletters. Given the, if it were not for the fact that they can deep strike and you've got the Shadow of Chaos special rule, they'd be quite flimsy. They'd be quite difficult to use, but given that they can teleport in quite close, they're actually very, very nice. If you take a lot of them with a lot of heralds, you've got a fairly decent army going on there. Blood Crushers. These are the bloodletters mounted on juggernauts. They're fast, they're tough, they're your shock troops effectively, and they're really bloody nasty. Just like their herald, they've got a hellblade and they've got the juggernaut's bladed horns, so they're all doing loads of attacks, and I mean loads of quite high damage attacks. The Juggernaut's Bladed Horn has the Lance ability, which is very nice. Brass Stampede. Each time this unit ends a charge move, select one enemy unit within engagement range of this unit and roll 1d6 for each model in that unit. For each 4+, that enemy unit suffers die 3 mortal wounds. So when you're charging into like swarm units, for example, like with orcs or with tyrannids, that can potentially do a whole mess of damage. They're nasty. And, like all demons, they can deep strike too, so you put Herald with them and ouch. Really ouch. Fleshhounds, really fast, these guys, 12 inches. The only things that are faster than them in the Codex are the Slanesh units. So very, very nice. Ranged weapons, Burning Roar. So they have a ranged weapon now. That's a nice change. It's an ignores cover and torrent attack, 12 inches, so very, very nice. It's not particularly strong, but it's a torrent attack. Really, really lovely. Their melee weapons are fine. Gore-drenched fangs, 3 attacks each, weapon skill 3+, strength 5, armor piercing 1. Low damage, but you're putting out a lot of attacks with them, so they're actually quite nice. Special rule, Pouncing Hunters. You can target this unit with the Heroic Intervention stratagem for 0 command points, and can do so even if you've already used that stratagem on a different unit this phase. Very, very nice. They also have the Collars of Khorne, which means that they're basically immune to psychic attacks. Really, really lovely indeed. Very quick, and with Karanak, you're going to want to be chucking them at enemy characters, and those that are going to cause you trouble, like enemy psychers and whatnot. You've got one of the few ranged units, which is the skull cannon. It's a decent enough bit of weaponry. This in context, I mean, it's nowhere near as strong or as effective as the long range weapons in other armies, but that's the thing. You kind of have to look at this in context with Khorne armies and Khorne demon armies. If you're taking mono Khorne, they have very, very little in the way of long range. Most of their long range weapons are mid to long range. This is 48 inches, has die 6 plus 2 attacks and the blast capability, ballistic skill 3 plus, strength 9, armor piercing -1, damage 2. I mean, you take a few of these guys, you've got a fairly decent barrage here. In melee, they're pretty good. You've got the Bloodletters Hellblades, and the actual thing itself has a biting maw, which has only 2 attacks, but they're damage 2, strength 6, so pretty damn nice. Skulls of the Fallen. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks. That unit must take a battle shock test. Very nice, especially if that enemy unit is in your Shadow of Chaos. Anything that can force battle shock in 10th ed is good, and that's what makes the skull cannon viable. That's what makes, I mean, they've always been a bit shit, to be honest, skull cannons. In 10th, they're not bad. They're not bad at all. Skull Altar, this is the big terrain piece for Khorne. Infiltrators, so it infiltrates this thing because it erupts from under the ground. That's unusual for a terrain piece. That's quite nice. Shadow of Khorne, the area of the battlefield within 6 inches of this fortification is considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos. In addition, while a friendly Khorne Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this fortification, each time you take a battle shock test for that unit, you can re-roll the test. Quite nice, especially if you're going mono Khorne. Cover. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model, if that model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of this fortification, that model has the benefit of cover against that attack. So it can serve as kind of mid to long range cover for your units as they advance. That's quite nice. It's a fortification. It counts as a fortification, which is cool. It's not bad. It's okay. It's not an amazing piece of terrain, but given like the innate weaknesses of of Khornate demons in particular, it's quite nice. It can actually shield you as you advance, and protect you from long-range weaponry, which is really cool. On to Tzeentch, we've got Kairos Fate Weaver, one of my favourite characters, who's an absolute beast. Given, he's supposed to be like a wizened Lord of Change. He's got lesser toughness than most lords, the most greater demons, because he is so wizened, but he's got 20 wounds. He's nasty. Objective secured 5 as well. His ranged weapons are something else. I mean, he's like Magnus, he's the demon, he's like the Chaos Demon's equivalent of Magnus. He's a psychic holocaust, this guy. So he's got Infernal Gateway, which is a witch firepower with 2 profiles. First one, blast, indirect fire, and psychic, 24 inches. Die 6 plus 3 attacks. Ballistic skill 2, so he's pretty much always going to be hitting. Strength 9, armor piercing 2, and damage die 3. And then if you go for the focused Witchfire version, it becomes hazardous, but it has greater armor piercing, basically. So either way, it's pretty damn unpleasant. It's one of those psychic powers that can just blast enemy units off the battlefield. It's really, really nice. In conjunction with his other abilities as well, it's pretty damn good. He carries the Staff of Tomorrow, which is a psychic melee weapon, which is attacks 5, weapon skill 3 plus, strength 8, armor piercing -2, and the damage is 2 die 3. So the Tzeentch units are not as good in melee as most of the other demons, but he's pretty good. But his main thing, the reason you're taking Kairos, although he is a big, big, bad monster, the reason you're taking him are his abilities. So you've got One Head Looks Forward, which is an aura. Each time you target a friendly Tzeentch Legionnaires Demonica unit within 6 inches of this model with a stratagem, roll 1 die 6. If the result is greater than the current battle round number, you gain 1 command point. Lovely. Command point generator. It's what you want. I mean, that's a really good ability. You've got one head looks back. Once per battle, after your opponent uses a stratagem, this model can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the battle, each time your opponent uses that stratagem, increase its cost to your opponent by 1 command point. So what you want to be looking out for are those key stratagems that your opponent is going to be relying on throughout the battle. And then you increase the command point cost of it. And that makes them much less likely to be able to use it. It's a really, really good ability. You've got the Lord of Change, which is similar, very similar to Kairos. It's got a few less wounds. It's long-range weapons. It's got quite a few. It can take a Rod of Sorcery, which gives you 6 quite nasty psychic attacks, actually, at mid-range. But it's also got the Bolt of Change, which is a hideous psychic power. It's really good. So, again, 2 Witchfire profiles, a lesser one and a bigger one, a focused Witchfire that's hazardous. So they're both 9 attacks each, just straight, no rolling, no randomness, just straight 9 attacks each. Really horrible. Ballistic skill 2+, so they're going to be hitting most of the time. Strength 9, armor piercing -1 and -2 for the focused version. Damage just 1 for the normal one and die 3 for the focused one. But still, it's automatically 9 attacks at range. It's really nasty. One of the nastier aggressive psychic powers in the game, I would say. In terms of melee weapons, you've got either the Baleful Sword, if they're equipped with one, which gives you extra attacks, 3 extra attacks, strength 7, damage 3, so and armor piercing -2, so pretty good. You know, I mean, again, Zeech suffers in melee, but that's not bad. And you've got the Staff of Zeech, which is 5 attacks, strength 6, armor piercing -1, and again, damage 3, so pretty good. You've got an Aura, Demon Lord of Zeech. While a friendly Zeech Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the strength characteristic of that attack. Really good, given that all of the Zeech Demon units have long-range attacks. That's really useful. It just makes them that much nastier at long range, you know? You've got Master of Magics. In your shooting phase, select one of the following abilities. Ignores cover, lethal hits, or sustained hits die 3. Until the end of the phase, this model's Bolt of Change has that ability. So even with just its normal profile is bad enough, but you can give it all of these extra abilities. It's really horrible. They're good. Lords of Change are nasty in the new edition. Very, very nice indeed. You got the Changeling, who's always been a bit funny in 40k. He's never really been that great a character. He's a toughness 3, so he's quite weak, he's quite easy to take down. But then again, with this guy, it's more about his abilities than his ability to murder, you know? He's got he's got a psychic power, Infernal Flames, again, 2 profiles, a Witchfire and a focused Witchfire. Its normal version ignores cover and has the Torrent ability, and its focused one is hazardous. So for the normal one, it's 12 inches, die 6 attacks. For the hazardous one, the focused one, it's die 6 plus 3. Strength 6, armor piercing -1, damage only 1 for the normal version, and die 3 damage for the focused one. Both very nice indeed. You've got the Trickster's Staff as his melee weapon, which is actually not bad. I mean, it's okay. It's not amazing. It's fine, you know? It's attacks 3, weapon skill 4+, strength 4, armor piercing 1, damage die 3. It's fine. But you're not really wanting this guy to be doing stuff in close combat. That's not really his bag, you know? Formless Horror. Each time an enemy unit wishes to select this model as the target of an attack, that unit must first take a battle shock test. If that test is failed, in addition to being battle shock, the enemy unit cannot target this model this phase. So again, he's actually quite fun. He can inflict battle shock, which again is really, really useful. And he's quite difficult to target. Your enemy is going to be considering whether they should or should not target this guy. Mischief and Confusion. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of and visible to this model, and roll 1d6 on a 2 to 5 until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. On a 6, that enemy unit is not eligible to shoot this phase. So again, he's a disruptor. That's what he's designed to do. Get close to the enemy and disrupt the battle plan, which is actually quite good. He's difficult to use correctly, but if you know what you're doing with him, he can really make the difference between the success of a long range, of a long-term plan and not. His only real big weakness is he can't join a unit. He is on his own, which can be problematic, but then again, he's not really designed to. He does operate on his own. So, yeah, he's a disruption unit. You've got your Fate Skimmer, which is a pink horror herald on a... is it a Disc of Zeech that he's on? Yeah, it's a Disc of Zeech, this guy. He's got his Arcane Fireball psychic power. Again, you've got normal and focused. The focused one has devastating wounds and hazardous. Attacks 3, ballistic skill 3+, strength 5 and 6 for the focused. Armor piercing -1 and -2 for the focused. Damage die 3. It's not bad. There are not many shots. It's not as strong as some of the bigger psychic powers, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. In terms of melee, the Herald has a close combat weapon, which has the psychic ability, and it's alright, it's fine, it's nothing amazing. But you also get 6 extra attacks with the Screamers pulling its disc, which are much better. Weapon skill 4+, strength 6, armor piercing -2, damage 2, so very nice. But what you're really taking these guys for are their aura abilities. So Fate Skimmer. While this model is leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the lethal hits ability. So this guy's going to be joining units of Screamers, and this makes units of Screamers much nastier. Much nastier. Rider of the Immaterial Winds. Once per battle, at the end of your opponent's turn, if this model's unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can remove that unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. That's really good. That's really good. It's very Zeechian. You're mucking about. You are doing feints and shifts with the enemy, so you can make the enemy believe you're going to target a particular unit or going for a particular objective. Then you play this ability, and it's clear that you're not, even though they may have maneuvered under the belief that that's what you're doing. It's quite cool. It's quite a nice little Zeechian trick. I like that. Okay, you've got your Flux Master. He's on his own. This guy is not riding anything or anything like that. Again, he's got the Arcane Fireball ability, which is exactly the same. He's got Herald Close Combat Weapon, which is, it's fine. But again, what you're taking this guy for is his abilities. So he's got the Flux Master ability. While this model is leading a unit, each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So he provides Pink Horrors, for example, a bit more survivability, which is really cool. Altered Reality. This is a psychic ability. Once per battle round, after a hit roll, a wound roll, or a saving throw is made for this model, you can change the result of that roll to a 6. So he's much more survivable, which is really, really nice. Really nice. He can accompany pink or blue horrors, so he just makes them a bit more survivable. You've got your blue scribes, who are some of my favourite Zeechian characters. I love the fact that they argue and fight all the time. They are 2 blue horrors riding a Disc of Zeech. They have melee weapons of the quills that they use to write down their spells, sharp quills, which funnily enough is not that strong, but it's anti-psyker. 2+, so it's against psychers, enemy psychers, particularly low toughness ones like Eldari, Farseers and whatnot. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good. Their abilities are great. Pteryx's Sorceress Siphon. While an enemy unit is within 12 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes a psychic attack, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So, yeah, it's a bit more survivability against certain psychic attacks, which is cool if you're facing a psychic-heavy army. And you've got Zirat Sorceress Barrages, which is a psychic attack. At the end of your movement phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model. On a 2 to 3, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, that unit suffers die 3 mortal wounds. And on a 6, that unit suffers die 6 mortal wounds. Bearing in mind, that's for each enemy unit within the range. So that's pretty good. They're not that great in and of themselves, but when you take into account that ability, you can see where their use lies. They're pretty cool. They are pretty cool. I like them. You've got your Change Caster, which again is another Herald model. It's got the Arcane Fireball ability, which is the same. It's got a Herald Close Combat Weapon, which is the same as all the others. It's got very nice special rules. Change Caster. While this model is leading a unit, ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. Very nice with horrors. Very, very nice with horrors. Storm of Mutating Sorcery. This is a psychic ability. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, select one enemy infantry unit hit by one or more of those attacks. That unit must take a Battle Shock test. So again, can inflict Battle Shock at range. Nice. Really nice. Blue horrors are their own unit now, which is they're just like a lesser form of the pink horrors. They're very, very nice. They've got the same coruscating they've got their own bespoke coruscating flames attack, which is not strong as such, but you get 2 attacks with it, and it is armor piercing -1. It's quite nice, you know. And the yellow horrors that they become have their own version, which is a bit lesser. It's more difficult to hit, and it has less strength. In terms of melee, don't bother. They're just terrible in melee. That's the whole point. But what they can do, which is what they're designed for, is to tar pit enemy units, because they're very difficult to get rid of because of their split ability. Each time a blue horror model in this unit is destroyed, after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks, if this unit is not destroyed, roll 1d6 for that model. On a 4+, add 1 Brimstone horror model to this unit. They've got the Cackling Horrors aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this unit, if this unit contains 1 or more blue horror models, subtract 1 from the enemy unit's leadership. Again, in conjunction with certain abilities and army-wide special rules that inflict battle shock. Lovely. Exploding Horrors. Each time this unit is selected to fight, if you can select one enemy unit within engagement range of it, then select 1 or more Brimstone horror models in this unit. For each Brimstone horror model you select, roll 1d6. On a 4+, that model is destroyed, and that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So Brimstone horrors explode and deal mortal wounds. It's a lovely little character thing. So they're tar pit units, and the pink horrors that come after, they're just the same, but they've got better characteristics, and they also have a much better shooting attack. So the pink horrors, their shooting attacks hit on 3+, and their strength 4, so they're just a bit nastier, and they have more levels of splitting. So pink horrors split into 2 blue horrors split into Brimstone horrors. It's really cool. Their pink horror claws, they're just nothing, basically. But again, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because you kind of do want these guys getting into melee, because what they're going to be doing is tar pitting the enemy. And if they've got a herald with them, some herald, then they're going to be doing even better. So they are a lovely unit. Zeech has done very, very well, actually. The standalone Chaos armies in the Chaos Demons Codex, they have inbuilt strengths and weaknesses. So Khorne is, as I said earlier, it's all about hamstringing the enemy army by getting rid of the characters. That's what it's all about. They're really high damage, loads of attacks, and often targeted at enemy characters. Zeech is a bit different. Zeech is all about misdirection and affecting things like morale and deep striking and using long range attacks. It's that kind of thing. But I think Zeech has done probably the best of all of the standalone Chaos God armies in the Demons Codex. We've got the Flamers. Now, if you remember in 9th Ed, the Flamers were so ubiquitous that they had to be downgraded because they were so good. They have been downgraded massively in this codex, but they're still really good, in this index rather, but they're still really good. They move 9 inches. I think they fly as well, these guys. Let me just have a look. Yeah, they've got the fly ability, which means that, that's pretty good. They can move over friendly and enemy units, I do believe. Their Flickering Flames attack has been downgraded massively, but it's still really good. It's an Ignores Cover Psychic Torrent ability, 12 inches, die 6 attack, strength 4, armor piercing -1, damage 1. So it's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still pretty damn good. And they're still going to be one of those units that enemies are reluctant to charge in assault because they can Overwatch, and their Overwatch is excellent. In close combat, they've got their Flamer Mouths, which are 3 attacks, weapon skill 4, strength 4, damage 1. It's okay. They've got the Bounding Leaps ability. This unit is eligible to shoot in a turn in which it fell back. So again, it's this whole feinting thing with Tzeentch, where you are making the enemy believe you want to do a certain thing, then you're falling back or repositioning and using long-range attacks. They're pretty nice, especially if they're joined by a Herald or an Exalted Flamer or something like that. So you've got your Exalted Flamer, which is the character, the big nasty flamer character, much tougher, much more wounds, and this guy's ranged weapons are pretty good. So he's got the Fire of Tzeentch Blue Fire, which ignores cover and is a psychic ability, range 18 inches, attacks 3, ballistic skill 3+, strength 9, armor piercing -3, damage 3. It's effectively like a laser cannon. It's really, really nasty. And then you've got its Torrent ability, which is the Pink Fire, which ignores cover, 12 inches, 2 die 6 attacks, strength 5, armor piercing -1, damage 1. It's pretty nasty. They've got the Flamer Mouths ability, which is a bit nastier. It's at strength 5. But really, what you're bringing this guy for is to upgrade your flamers. So he's got the Blazing Warp Fire psychic ability. While this model is leading a unit, ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Assault ability. It just makes them a bit nastier, you know? Flames of Change psychic. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, select one enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, hit by one or more of those attacks, and roll 1d6. On a 4+, until the end of your opponent's next turn, that enemy unit is a flame. While a unit is a flame, subtract 2 inches from its move characteristic and subtract 2 from advance and charge rolls made for it. So again, it's a way of ameliorating or overcoming some of the inherent weaknesses of Tzeentch armies, Tzeentch demon armies. Tzeentch demon armies you don't want to be charged with. You don't want to really be getting into assault with, because they're not very good at it. They can tarp it with their pink horrors, but that's about it, really. So this ability makes that much less likely. It affects the maneuverability of your opponent. It's really good. You got your Screamers back, and these have always been good. Screamers are lovely. 14 inches, really fast, wounds 3, and their Lamprey Bite is horrible. 3 attacks, a 4+ weapon skill, strength 6, armor piercing -2 at damage 2. These guys are going to be doing a lot of nastiness, especially if they are accompanied by the Herald character that makes them even nastier. They've got the Slashing Dive attack. In your movement phase, after this unit ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit it moved over during that move and roll 1d6 for each model in that unit. For a 4+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. They're very good at cleaning up swarms. Very good at cleaning up swarms, because you're rolling more dice, yeah? It's really lovely. They're a lovely unit. For a Tzeentch unit, great in melee. Really, really good. You've got one of my favourite units, by the way. I love this thing, the Burning Chariot, which is a flamer on a chariot of Tzeentch. I mean, come on. It's got the same Fire of Tzeentch, blue and pink, as the one on ground. It's got the flamer. It's got the Flamer Mouths attack, but it also has extra attacks from the Screamers. So it's got 12 attacks in melee, which is good for a Tzeentch unit. It also has the Eldritch Flames ability. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, it's to say, select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, that unit cannot have the benefit of cover. Again, really good. Really, really good. Taking away cover in 10th is pretty damn unpleasant, I've got to say. Pretty damn unpleasant. Who can it join anyone, this? No, it can't. It's a unit in and of itself, which is fine. I mean, it's a pretty doughty unit anyway. So yeah, very, very nice. So that's Tzeentch. I mean, everything works really well together in the Tzeentch specific forces. It works really, really lovely. Everything has synergy with everything else. As I said, I think out of all of the monogod forces that you can make from this index, I think Tzeentch has come out quite far on top. Right, let's move on to Tzeentch's mortal enemy, shall we? Let's have a look at Nurgle. So we've got the big bad special character, of course, which is Rotigus Rainfather. Toughness 12, wounds 22 with a 4+ invulnerable save. Bloody hell. He's nasty. He's going to be really hard to shift, this guy. And I mean really hard to shift, especially when you take into account the factors of like the shadow in the warp and whatnot. So you've got ranged weapons, streams of brackish filth. He vomits basically all over his opponent, which is devastating wounds, ignores cover and torrent. 12 inches, 2d6 attacks, strength 7, armor piercing -2, damage 1. It's pretty nice and pretty unpleasant when you imagine it happening. His melee weapons, he's got the Gnarl Rod, which is a stave taken from the Garden of Nurgle. So it's got two, he's a big monster, so it's got your strike and sweep profile. They're both lethal hits, they're both psychic. The strike attack, 7 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 8, armor piercing -3, damage 3. It's not amazing. It's not as great as, obviously, it doesn't do as much damage as the similar weapons that Khorne characters carry, obviously, but it's it's fine. It's actually really good anyway. And its sweep attack has 14 attacks with strength 7 and damage 1. It's pretty good. This guy's still going to be doing really well in close combat. He's still going to be doing really, really well. He's got the Virulent Blessing psychic ability. At the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to this model. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack made by a Nurgle Legionnaires Demonica model is allocated to a model in that unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. That's a really good ability. Because Nurgle demon units struggle doing the damage by and large. So that's a really lovely way of making your Plague Bearers and your Beasts of Nurgle and whatnot just a little bit nastier. He's also got the Deluge of Nurgle aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, halve the move and objective control characteristic of models. That's lovely. That's a really nice ability, that is. That's the kind of ability that is king in 10th Ed, that affects enemy movement and their ability to control objectives. Yeah, it's pretty good. He's an excellent unit, is Rotigus. Very, very nice indeed. Very bloody tough. My goodness. And, just below him, we've got your classic Great Unclean one, which is like, basically, it's a lesser version of Rotigus. It's toughness 12, 20 wounds, it's a nasty piece of work, 4+ invulnerable save. This guy isn't going anywhere anytime soon. He's got his Plague Flail for his ranged weapons, which is 6 inches, attacks die 6+1, ballistic skill 3+, strength 7, armor piercing -2, 2 damage, so it's pretty nasty. This is good. Putrid Vomit. So again, he pukes up over his enemies. Ignores cover and torrent. Range 12 inches. Attacks die 6+3, so even more attacks. Ballistic skill 2+, strength 5, armor piercing -2, and damage 1. It's not particularly strong, but it does a fair few attacks, and it's just fun because of what it is. It's fun because of what it is. He pukes over his enemy. It's great. They've got quite a few melee options, actually. They've got the Bile Blade, which is their little dagger thing, which they can take instead of a Plague Flail. And that gives you 3 extra attacks with lethal hits. Weapon skill 2+, strength 6, armor piercing -2, damage 2, in conjunction with lethal hits. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. The big sword that he can carry is the Bile Sword, and that has the strike and sweep ability. Lethal hits again. Strike, attack 6, weapon skill 2+, strength 8, armor piercing -2 at die 6 damage. So yeah, pretty strong. He's going to be again, not as strong as the Khorne units, but he is going to still be taking down knights without too much trouble. The sweep does 12 attacks, strength 6, armor piercing -1 and 1 damage. So again, still pretty nice. He can also carry a Doomsday Bell instead of one of the other weapons, the Bile Blade or the Plague Flail. And this has lethal hits and a reverberating summon special rule. So you get 6 attacks with this. Weapon skill 2+, strength 7, armor piercing -1, damage 2. So it's pretty good. No slouch in close combat. but it has reverberating summons. Each time a model is destroyed by this weapon, you can select one friendly Plague Bearer's unit within 12 inches of the bearer and return one destroyed Plague Bearer model to that unit. So it's pretty good. It allows you to regenerate your Plague Bearer unit. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. Demon Lord of Nurgle aura. While a friendly Nurgle Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, models in that unit have the Feel No Pain 6+ ability. Really nice. Makes Nurgle units a bit more durable. Nurgle's Rot Psychic Power, classic. At the end of your movement phase, you can select one enemy unit within 12 inches of this model. Until the start of your next movement phase, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. So it's quite nice. It's quite nice. It's a bit like the Death Guard's aura ability, but a psychic ability. You know, it's quite nice. Yeah, he's a decent old slab of nasty gristle and putrid fat, this guy. You're obviously going to want one. At least one in your Nurgle demon units, because these guys are your damage dealers, right? You've got your normal Nurgle Herald, your Poxbringer, and he's toughness 5. He's got 5 wounds, so he's, you know, for a character of his stature, he's pretty tough. Pretty damn tough. He's got in melee the Foul Bale Sword, which has lethal hits, attacks 4, weapon skill 3+, strength 5, armor piercing -2, damage 2. So he's not as powerful in melee as, say, the Khorne Heralds, but then again, he's not meant to be. He's got the Poxbringer special rule. While this model is leading a unit, which will be Plague Bearers, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, a successful unmodified hit roll of 5+ scores a critical hit. So it's just making Plague Bearer units a bit more killy, which they kind of need, because they're not, as I say, they're just not as aggressive as, say, Demonettes or Bloodletters. Feculent Despair, this is an aura, this is a psychic aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time that unit takes a Battle Shock test, subtract 1 from the test. Again, really nice. Really nice. Anything that affects Battle Shock and is cumulative with the army-wide special rules, as this is, nice. Very nice. One of my favourites, the Spoilpox Scrivener. I love these guys. I love them to bits. They're such fun little demon heralds. Same profile as the other. They've got the ranged weapon, disgusting sneezes, because these guys are... This is actually true. They are allergic to the material realm. So whenever they're there, they're utterly miserable and they sneeze all the time. So disgusting sneezes, pistol torrent, range 6 inches, attacks dice 6, strength 3, damage 1. It's not amazing at all by any stretch. It's more humorous than anything, but it is kind of fun. It's a torrent ability, so it's okay. Melee weapons, Plague Sword and Distended Maw. Lethal hits, very nice. 6 attacks with these. Weapon skill 3+, strength 5, armor piercing -1, 1 damage. So again, they're not amazing in terms of the damage they put out, but it's because of their aura abilities that you want them. So you've got Keep Counting. They order the Plague Bearers around them to keep counting. While this model is leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. Again, making Plague Bearer units a bit more killy. He's very nice. Meet your quota. While this model is leading a unit, add 1 to the objective control characteristic of models in that unit. That's nice. That's why you're going to be wanting this guy. That's really lovely. It makes Plague Bearers really good as objective takers. Got your classic Epidemius, the Tallyman of Nurgle. Very nice. Toughness 5, wounds 8, so he's pretty cool. In terms of melee weapons, he's got his Bale Sword and his Nurgling Attendants, all of which have lethal hits. Dice 6 +3, weapon skill 3+, strength 5, armor piercing -2, damage 2. So he's not bad, actually, in close combat for a Nurgle character. He's not bad at all. But again, it's the abilities that you want here. Blessed by the Plague God. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 4+ invulnerable save. Nice. Again, really lovely, that one. Tally of Pestilence. Keep a tally of how many enemy models are destroyed by Nurgle Legionnaires Demonica models from your army during the battle. At the start of your command phase, if this tally is 7 or more, you gain 1 command point and the tally is reset to 0. So bear in mind, that's models, not units. So that's pretty easy to get off, actually. That's pretty damn easy to get off. This guy could do it on his own with a bit of luck. So yeah, he's a command point generator, which is lovely. It's something you're going to really want for this army. So Epidemius has often been a bit crap in recent editions of 40k. This version of him is lovely. My favourite unit in the Nurgle Demons. He is brilliant. The Sloppity Bile Piper. How can you resist that name? The other Nurgle Herald. Again, he's got the same profile as all the others. His melee weapon is a thing called the Marotta, which has lethal hits, attacks 4, weapon skill 3 plus, strength 5, damage 1. Not amazing, not amazing at all. But then again, that's not what you're taking him for. Jolly Gut Pipes. While this model is leading a unit, add 1 to the move characteristic of models in that unit, and you can reroll advance rolls made for that unit. So again, you're kind of overcoming some of the innate weaknesses of Nurgle demons, which is they're really bloody slow. They really are. Disease of Mirth Aura. At the start of the fight phase, every enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles within 6 inches of this model, must take a battle shock test. That's what you're taking him for. That is insane. Every enemy unit, if you can get him close to the enemy battle lines, which is not that difficult, given that these guys can deep strike and you've got the Shadow of Chaos ability enhancing that. That's good. Bloody hell, that's really good. You're going to want to take multiple versions of this guy. Again, stick him in a Plague Bearer unit and watch him go. Another one of my favourites. I love the Nurgle characters. The demon Nurgle characters are bloody excellent. Horticulus Slimux, the Gardener of Nurgle. He's tough. Toughness 10, save 3 plus, wounds 10. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's the Plague Bearer riding a snail. He's wonderful. Melee weapons, Acidic Maw, devastating wounds and extra attacks. So this is the snail's bite. Attacks 2, weapon skill 4 plus, strength 7, armor piercing -4, damage 3. So not many attacks, but high damage. Very, very nice. And of course, he's got his lopping shears, which have lethal hits. Attacks 4, weapon skill 3 plus, strength 6, armor piercing -2, and damage 3. So yeah, he's pretty good. In close combat for a Nurgle character, he's pretty damn good. But again, what you want him for are his aura abilities. Beast Handler. While this model is leading a unit, you can reroll charge rolls made for that unit. In addition, once per battle, you can target that unit with the Heroic Intervention stratagem for 0 command points, and do so even if you've already used that stratagem on a different unit in this phase. So again, he's enhancing your Beasts of Nurgle units, which you can join. Very nice. Seed the Garden of Nurgle. At the end of your movement phase, if this model is within an area terrain feature, until the end of the battle, that area terrain feature is considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos. That's really good. That's really good, because it's something the enemy can't overcome, and it means that you can spread the Shadow of Chaos across the battlefield. That's really nice. Here's your main stage. You've got your Plague Bearers of Nurgle. So they're quite slow, 5 inches, a toughness 5, pretty good. They've got 2 wounds apiece, which is unusual for non-Space Marine troops, non-Space Marine infantry. Pretty good. They've got their Plague Swords, which is lethal hits, which isn't bad. 2 attacks, weapon skill 3 plus, strength 4, armor piercing -1, damage 1. So they're not going to be putting out the damage like Bloodletters are or Demonettes, but they're still pretty nice. They're quite tough. They've got a little bit of staying power. They're kind of objective takers. That's what they're really there for. Infected Outbreak. If you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase and this unit is within range of that objective marker remains under your control. It's sticky objectives, effectively, which is a really nice ability to have. Works very well for Nurgle as well. They can take a demonic icon and instruments of chaos, which do the same. When these guys have a particular heralds with them, they get much nastier. They're never going to be up to the same standard as Bloodletters in melee and whatnot, but they've got other abilities around that. Nurglings. Yeah, we love these guys. Everybody loves Nurglings. They're not amazing because they're not meant to be. Diseased claws and teeth, lethal hits, attacks 4, weapon skill 5 plus, strength 2, damage 1. But that's kind of not the point. They've got the Infiltrator's special ability, which is really nice, and Mischief Maker's Aura. While an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, is within 6 inches of this unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So you kind of want them to give your other units protection. That's kind of what they're for. And there's lots of them. They swarm across the battlefield. Beasts of Nurgle always had a soft spot for these guys because they have a soft spot for everyone else. They're not mean. They're not evil, you know, like a lot of Nurgle demons. They're actually very friendly. The problem is they're diseased and lethal, so their new playmates tend to keel over dead when they try to play with them. Really tough, these guys. Toughness 9. They've got a 5+ invulnerable save, you know, wound 7. Pretty unpleasant. Melee weapons, putrid appendages. These have devastating wounds, so they're causing lots of mortal wounds, these guys. Attack 6, weapon skill 4+, strength 6, armor piercing -1, damage 2. So even when they're not causing mortal wounds, they're still unpleasant. Grotesque regeneration. At the end of each phase, if a Beast of Nurgle model in this unit has lost any wounds but is not destroyed, that model regains all of its wounds. Bloody hell. These guys are the main, they're really, I mean, they are the mainstay. You're going to want lots of these in your army because they're just so difficult to take down. So difficult to take down. They're fast for a Nurgle, you know, for a Nurgle unit. They are durable. They've got nice abilities, even more so when they're with Horticulus. They're bloody brilliant, actually. Bloody brilliant. Plague drones. These are going to be essential in Nurgle armies because they're fast. Move 10 inches, toughness 8, so tough. They've got a 5+ invulnerable save. They've got some nice ranged weapons as well. Death's Heads that have the blast and lethal hits. Range 12 inches, attacks die 3. Ballistic skill 4+, strength 4, damage 1. Okay, they're not that strong, but it's rare in a demon army. So they're not that bad, actually. In melee, they are nasty. Foul mouth parts, these are extra attacks and have the lethal hits ability. Only 2 attacks, but even so, pretty good. Weapon skill 4+, strength 5, armor piercing 1, damage 2. Pretty unpleasant. And you've got your standard plague sword attacks that have lethal hits. Weapon skill 3+, strength 4, armor piercing -1, damage 1. So, yeah. They perform functions for a Nurgle demon army that plug gaps. Basically, they are really essential, these guys. Death's Heads, in your shooting phase, after this unit is shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the end of that turn, each time a friendly Nurgle Legionnaires Demonica unit makes an attack that targets that unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. So again, there's a lot of synergy going on here. They help out your lesser Nurgle units that aren't maybe that great in close combat, like your Nurglings and your Plague Bearers. They're good. They're very, very nice indeed. And you've also got your terrain piece, which is your Feculent Gnarlmaw, which is very tough. It's got a 4+ save. It's an infiltrator, so you can set it up quite close to the enemy. It's got a Shroud of Flies aura. While a friendly Nurgle Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this fortification, models in that unit have the stealth ability. Again, really good. You're going to want to be wanting that, really, because it helps them survive. You know, it protects them from shooting and whatnot. Diseased cover. Each time a ranged attack is allocated to a model, if that model is not fully visible to every model in the attacking unit because of this fortification, that model has the benefit of cover against that attack. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. It's a nice... it counts as a fortification as well, which is pretty cool. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Something you are going to really want for a Nurgle army, really. So I would say, in terms of who's come out the best, Nurgle armies are really unusual. That's something I would definitely say for their demon. If you're taking a mono Nurgle army, you're going to have to really think about it, what you're taking and how they work together, because there are certain weaknesses in the army that that can only be overcome with certain synergies. They're not bad at all. You can put together some really killer armies, but you're going to have to really think about it. They're very interesting, highly characterful to play as well. Okay, my loves, moving swiftly on, if you'll kind of excuse the half pun, to my favourite Chaos Power, Slaanesh, she who thirsts herself, who's actually done rather well out of the Chaos Demons Index, by all accounts. For one thing, Slaanesh has one of the best character killers in the game, which is Shalaxi Hellbane. Now, Shalaxi is like all of the other character-graded demons. She's effectively an updated Keeper of Secrets. She's a Keeper of Secrets with extra tricks. So she's not very tough. Insofar as these big monsters go, she's actually got less toughness, as the Slaanesh demons generally do. So she's only toughness 10. Still pretty bloody good, but only toughness 10, right? As opposed to like toughness 11 or 12 or 14, as it can be for some of them. She's got a 14-inch move. So coupled with her deep strike, she is moving bloody quick. And that's what you want for Shalaxi. She is, you know how we said earlier, the theme of Khorne in the Demons Index is killing characters. Well, Shalaxi is the answer to that. Shalaxi is a character assassin par excellence. There's very, very little in the game that can go toe-to-toe with Shalaxi. If you've got a problematic character, or even some of the bigger monsters out there, things like Scarbrand, things like the Avatar from the Eldari range, Knights, some of the smaller Knights even, rival greater demons across the board, Primarchs, chuck Shalaxi at them. She will murder the vast majority of them. And, you know, moving 14 inches and being able to deep strike, she's definitely going to do it, isn't she? She is awesome. So she's got a Lash of Slaanesh, which is a ranged weapon. It's an assault weapon, only 12 inches, but that doesn't matter because she's going to be getting close anyway. 6 attacks, ballistic skill 2+, so she's going to be hitting almost all the time. Strength 6, armor piercing -1 and damage 2. It's very, very, very good. It's a way of sort of softening up her prey before she gets into close combat with them. She's got a psychic ability, Purveying of Slaanesh, a classic, an absolute classic from the days of, like from the ROC days. Purveying of Slaanesh is one of the bespoke Slaanesh psychic powers or spells in Realms of Chaos Slaves to Darkness. It's been there ever since the beginning, and has almost always been, I think, in every iteration of 40k and of Fantasy Battle, has always been a spell that Slaanesh characters can cast. So it's a Witchfire power, so it's a damage dealer. 2 profiles. First one has Devastating Wounds and Psychic, 18 inches, so reasonable range. Die 6 attacks, ballistic skill 2+, so she's going to be hitting with it a lot. Strength 9, armor piercing -1, damage die 3. It's good. The other profile has Hazardous and also sustained hits 3, so it can potentially do more attacks. Also has greater armor piercing, so it depends on what you're targeting with that one. This is where she gets interesting, her melee weapons. So she's got the snapping claws of the Keeper of Secrets, which are always extra attacks, so she always does these 4 extra attacks with devastating wounds. Weapon skill 2+, strength 6, obviously. Armor piercing -2 and damage 3. Pretty damn good. On top of those attacks, she's also got her Soul Piercer, which has the precision special rule, because she's always going to be targeting characters with it. 6 attacks with that, so she's always doing at least 10 attacks. It's pretty damn good, right? Weapon skill 2+, strength 14, armor piercing -3, damage, die 6 +2. Now, in terms of her abilities, so like she is a character killer. Even before you even take into account her abilities. So she deep strikes. She's got the Feel No Pain 5+ ability, so she's quite hardy for a Keeper of Secrets. For a Slaanesh miniature, she's quite durable. She has the Cloak of Constriction. At the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within engagement range of this model. Until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from attacks characteristics of melee weapons equipped by that unit. Pretty good, makes her more survivable, makes the enemy less likely to counterattack, you know. Monarch of the Hunt. Each time this model declares a charge that targets a monster vehicle or character unit, you can re-roll the charge roll. Each time this model makes a melee attack that targets a monster vehicle or character unit, you can re-roll the hit roll, the wound roll, and the damage roll. So, yeah, she is bespoke. She's absolutely designed to kill problematic characters and big miniatures. She is awesome. I've seen her in combat a couple of times in battle reports and whatnot, and she's a monster. She is an absolute monster. The only way of getting rid of her is really shooting her from range. That's the best way of dealing with her, because there's very, very, very little in the game that can take her down in close combat. Some of the Demon Primarchs can manage it. The mortal ones, not so much. Some of the better characters could potentially manage it, but she's a beast. She's an absolute beast, and you're probably going to want her in your Slaanesh army. You've got your Keeper of Secrets, which, you know, it has many of the abilities that Shalaxi has. Still toughness 10, only 18 wounds on this one, but still 14-inch move, still the deep strike, you know, pretty cool. Has the Living Whip, just like Shalaxi. Has its own psychic power, which is, again, another bespoke psychic power from way back when, Phantasmagoria, another witch firepower. 2 profiles, both with devastating wounds, one of which has hazardous. 6 attacks straight. 6 attacks straight with the normal profile. Ballistic skill 2+, so he's always going to be hitting. Strength 6, armor piercing 2, damage only 1. But that's fine. The focused Witchfire profile has 9 straight attacks. So he's pretty damn nice. Still only damage 1, but 9 attacks. It's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. The Keeper's got a range of melee weapons that they can take. So you can take a ritual knife for it, which gives it 3 extra attacks at strength 6, armor piercing -2, damage 2. Pretty nice. Or you can give it the Shining Aegis, which you're probably going to do to give it a bit of survivability, to be honest. And what that basically does, the Shining Aegis, it's the shield thing that the Keeper can take, and that gives it the 5+ Feel No Pain ability. You're probably going to be doing that, because it already has extra attacks with its Snapping Claws, so it has the same Snapping Claws as Shalaxi with the same profile, and the devastating wounds. It's got a Wit Stealer sword rather than the Soul Piercer, which is 6 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 8, armor piercing -2, damage 3. It's good. It's really good. Doesn't have the built-in Feel No Pain that Shalaxi has. You've got to take the Shining Aegis if you want that. So you can make a decision with the Keeper of Secrets. Do you want a damage dealing Keeper of Secrets, or do you want one that's a little bit more durable? I'd go for the more durable one myself. I'd definitely go for the one with the Shining Aegis, just because it makes it more survivable. It means that it's going to get into combat, which is where you want this thing. Because again, the greater demons have had such a glow up in these indices. I'm telling you, they are monsters now. They're kind of what they've always been in the background, but have very rarely been in the game. It feels weird because it is a whole new game, but these guys feel like they've gone back to second ed, you know, where they were really monstrous. That's what they feel like now, which is really cool. They've got 2 abilities: Demon Lord of Slaanesh, which is an aura. While a friendly Slaanesh Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, improve the armor penetration of melee weapons in that unit by 1. Improves your demonettes and your fiends and whatnot. So pretty good. They've already got high armor piercing, so that's pretty damn good. Mesmerizing Form. Each time an attack targets this model, subtract 1 from the hit rolls. So again, makes it a mite more survivable. It's a very, very nice monster, the Keeper of Secrets. It's one of the better greater demons, that's for damn sure. And can go toe-to-toe with some of the bigger, nastier characters and monsters in the game, quite frankly. Now, it's never really been the case that the Keeper of Secrets could stand up to the Eldari avatar. They've always been like matched in the background, Slaanesh being the ultimate enemy of the Eldari, but the Keeper of Secrets has never matched up to the Avatar. Now it kind of does. I can see how a Keeper of Secrets could actually win out against an Avatar now with a bit of luck, which is nice. You've got one of my favourites, the Infernal Enrapturess, which is the Demonette Herald with the heartstring lyre, the instrument that's made out of one of its own supplicants. It's effectively a Cenobite. Very, very cool. Very fast, despite the heartstring lyre, very fast, 9-inch move. It's pretty good. Only toughness 3, so you're gonna wanna protect this one. You're definitely gonna want to protect this one, because if you don't, it's gonna die quickly. And it's only got a 7+ save. It's got a 5+ invulnerable, but its normal save isn't anything to speak highly of. Now the heartstring lyre is really interesting because it's a ranged weapon. It's got 2 profiles: Cacophonous Melody and Euphonic Blast, both of which are assault. The Cacophonous Melody is 18 inches, 6 attacks at ballistic skill 3+, strength 6. No armor piercing, damage 1, but it does a lot of attacks. That's my phone again. The heartstring, the euphonic blast, is 24 inches, so a much greater range. Only one attack, sadly, but 3+, so it's probably going to hit. Strength 12, armor piercing 3, and the damage is die 6 plus 1. So that's pretty good, really. That's pretty damn good. It's a nice, tailorable weapon that you can use. You can suit to different targets. It's quite cool. It's got the standard Demonet Ravaging Claws in close combat. Actually, these are not the standard Ravaging Claws. These are the Herald Ravaging Claws that have devastating wounds. 5 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 4, armor piercing -1. Pretty good in close combat. It has some very, very nice abilities, actually, this one. Harmonic Alignment. While this model is leading a unit, in your command phase, you can return die 3 destroyed bodyguard models to that unit. So, Demonettes are quite fragile. You are going to lose some. This character means that you can replace them, so it's pretty cool. Discordant Disruption and Aura. While an enemy Psyker unit is within 12 inches of this model, psychic weapons equipped by models in that unit have the hazardous ability. So very, very nice against psychic heavy armies. Certain Tyranid builds, Eldari, obviously Thousand Suns. That's quite nasty, actually, against Thousand Suns. Yeah, Grey Knights. Obviously. It's a lovely herald, actually. Really, really interesting. I like that one. The classic, the Mask of Slaanesh, the Dancer. Again, a 9-inch move. Toughness 3, very fragile. 4 wounds. 4+ invulnerable save on this one, though, so a little bit more survivable. Serrated Claws for the melee weapons. Devastating wounds again. 6 attacks. Weapon skill 2+. Strength 4, armor piercing -1, damage 2. Not amazing. You're really buying this one for the abilities. So it has Deep Strike, fights first. Can't join units of Demonettes, but it has the Lone Operative special rule. So the big ability that you're taking the mask for is the Eternal Dance. At the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within 6 inches of this model. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Slaanesh Legionis Demonica model makes a melee attack that targets the enemy unit, add 1 to the wound roll. Each time a model in that enemy unit makes a melee attack, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So it's the mask is basically a damage multiplier and also a little bit of extra protection for nearby Demonette units. It's actually really cool. There's some excellent synergies you can do with the mask that make Demonette units much more powerful than they otherwise would be. It also has Dazzling Acrobatics. This model is eligible to declare a charge in a turn which it advanced or fell back. So very, very nice indeed. It means that it can basically dance around the battlefield. And you can sort of feint with it, which is rather nice. We've got Silesk, one of the newer characters, one of my favourites as well. I love the Silesk character. Big, beautiful model, that one as well. Move 9 inches, toughness 6, pretty tough for a Slaanesh model. Wounds 9, that's nice, that's really nice. Has some ranged weapons, a Psychic Power, Cacophonic Choir, again, Witchfire Power, 2 profiles. Basic profile, Devastating Wounds, Ignores Cover, and Torrent, 12 inches. Die 6 attack, strength 6, armor piercing -1, normal damage, damage 1. Pretty nice, pretty damn nice. The focused Witchfire has the hazardous special rule, but also has devastating wounds, which is good. And also has 2 die 6 attacks. Pretty good. Pretty damn nice. Scourging Whip, which is an assault weapon, 9 inches, attack 6, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, armor piercing -1. It's just a nice little bit of extra firepower for this character. Melee weapons, you have Syl, I believe, with the Axe of Dominion, the big guy. 6 attacks, weapon skill 3+, strength 7, armor piercing -2, and damage 3. So that's the damage dealer here. That's the damage dealer. Then you've got Esk's... No, it's the other way round, isn't it? Esk is the mortal one. Syl is the Demonette on his back. So Syl has the Scourging Whip, which is extra attacks, so you get 6 extra. So these guys are always going to be doing 12 attacks. Pretty bloody nice, really. Weapon skill 2+, so hits even easier than Esk does. Only strength 4, armor piercing -1, damage 1, but they're extra attacks, so, you know, it's all a bonus. It's pretty cool. Prince of Slaanesh. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, a successful unmodified wound roll of 5+ scores a critical wound. Nice. Makes Demonette units much nastier. That's going to be why you're taking this guy, to be honest, or these guys, rather. Delightful Agonies. The first time this model is destroyed, roll 1d6 at the end of the phase. On a 2+, set this model back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed, and not within engagement range of any enemy units, with its full wounds remaining. So these two are difficult to kill. Like, really, really difficult to take down. And they can join units of Demonettes to make them, a little bit nastier. Very, very nice. Okay, now we're getting into it. The Contorted Epitome. This is the big mirror of Slaanesh, the living mirror with the Demonette attendants. This thing, in the last Demon Codex, was evil. Everyone took the Contorted Epitome because it was a monster. And you know what? It kind of still is. I thought they might diminish it a little bit in this one because it was so ubiquitous last time. They haven't really. It's still, you're probably going to be taking this thing, to be honest. Moves 9 inches, toughness 6, which is nice. 5+ save this time, 8 wounds, and a 4+ invulnerable. So quite nice. Melee weapons. It has extra attacks from the coiled tentacles from the mirror, which it always gets. They're only die 6, sadly, but that's fine. Weapon skill 4+, strength 5, armor piercing -1, damage 2. And then it has 8 base attacks from the Demonette's Ravaging Claws, which have devastating wounds. Their weapon skill 2+, only strength 4, but that's fine. Armor piercing 1, damage 1. In melee, this thing is no slouch. It's actually pretty damn good as characters go. It has a special psychic ability, Swallow Energy. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Feel No Pain 4+ ability against mortal wounds and psychic attacks. Pretty nice. Against certain armies that deal immortal wounds and critical hits and whatnot. Very nice indeed. Horrible Fascination. This is also a psychic ability. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, one Psycho model from your army with this ability can use it. If it does, select one enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to that Psycho model and roll 1d6. On a 1, that Psycho model suffers die 3 mortal wounds. On a 2 to 5 until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. On a 6, that enemy unit is not eligible to shoot this phase. Horrible against certain armies. Against things like Custodes, in fact, it's just against Space Marines, actually. It's pretty nasty. Against Thousand Suns. Yeah, it's very, very nice. And again, it makes whatever unit this thing joins pretty unpleasant. Again, Demonettes. It can just enhance Demonettes, which is lovely. You've got the Chariot characters all making a comeback. Torment Bringer, renamed, which is nice, on Exalted Seeker Chariot. Moves 14 inches, fast as F. This thing. This is what epitomizes Slaanesh. Fragile, but fast and hits hard. Like, really hard. Only toughness 6, doesn't matter. A 5+ save, 12 wounds. Got ranged weapons, Lashes of Torment, which are anti-infantry 3+, assault pistol weapons, with only a 6-inch range, but still pretty good. 6 attacks, weapon skill 3+, strength 4, damage 1. No great shakes, but it gives the unit a bit of extra sort of short-range firepower. So you've got, for melee weapons, you've got extra attacks from the Exalted Seeker Tongues, which have the Lethal Hits ability. 8 attacks with these? Are you kidding? Weapon skill 4+, strength 4, damage 1. I mean, it doesn't matter. 8 extra attacks are 8 extra attacks, right? On top of that, you've got the Demonette's Ravaging Claws, which have devastating wounds. 15 attacks! 15 attacks? Are you kidding? That's insane! On the charge, this thing is mad. It's really, really good. On top of that, they've got abilities. So Torment Bringer, which is an aura. While a friendly Slaanesh Legion as a Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, melee weapons in that unit have the Sustained Hits ability. Brilliant. I mean, really good. Hysterical Frenzy, again, a classic psychic power. Once per fight phase, just after an enemy unit selects a Slaanesh Legionnaires Demonica unit from your army as a target, one friendly Psyker that is within 6 inches of that Slaanesh unit and has this ability can use it. If it does, until the end of that phase, each time a model in that Slaanesh unit is destroyed, roll 1d6. On a 4+, do not remove it from play. That model can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks and is then removed from play. Very nice. Very nice indeed. Again, making nearby Demonette units really, really good. And other Slaanesh units too. That's a brilliant herald, actually. It's a very nasty damage dealer in and of itself, and also has some very nice abilities to go with it. Very cool indeed. Yeah, like that one. We've got the Trance Weaver, which is the new name for just the standard Slaanesh Herald. Lovely new name. I like that. Only toughness 3, so you're going to want to embed this in a unit, but moves 9 inches, has 3 wounds, a 5+ invulnerable save, which it needs. It's got the Ravaging Claws from before, which are very nice, 6 attacks with that. Trance Weaver. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Fight First ability. Bloody hell, yeah, that's good. Fight First is really powerful in 10th. Really powerful. What I love about this is because all of the characters are now bespoke, all of the characters like the heralds and whatnot are bespoke, they're individual, and they all have particular abilities. They all come up for consideration. I love that. None of them are redundant. There are ones you can see why each one would be useful. And this is brilliant. Got a Psychic Power, Symphony of Pain. At the end of your movement phase, you can select one enemy unit that is battle shocked and within 12 inches of this model. Until the end of the turn, each time a Slaanesh Legionnaires Demonica model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll. So any Demonette unit this thing is leading is going to be a meat grinder. With its Trance Weaver ability and its Symphony of Pain psychic power and the extra attacks that it brings, yeah, it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. Here we are, the meat and potatoes of the army, if you like, the Demonettes. They are they're the same as they have ever been. They are really fragile. Toughness 3, save 7+. They need their 5+ invulnerable save. Only 1 wound, but boy are they fast. They can deep strike, obviously, but they have a 9-inch move. They are quick, and their slashing claws have been massively upgraded. So they have devastating wounds now. Brilliant. 3 attacks each, weapon skill 3+, strength 4, armor piercing -1. They're going to be putting out the pain, these units. They are very, very cool. Their abilities, they have the Swift Taloned Slaughter. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If the target of that attack is within range of an objective marker, you can reroll the hit roll in general. They also have the standard demonic icon and Instrument of Chaos powers. When you look at them, the unit in and of itself, then you might think, so what's the big deal? When you start putting characters in the unit and when you start taking into account the various aura abilities, that's when it becomes interesting. That's when it becomes really, really interesting. One of my favourite units in a Slaanesh army, one of my favourite demons full stop, the Fiends of Slaanesh, one of the best models in the Slaanesh demon range, quite frankly. Move 12 inches, toughness 5, so a good tough unit for a Slaanesh unit. 4 wounds each. Their barbed tail and dissected claws have been rolled into 1 profile now, which has devastating wounds. 5 attacks each with this. Weapon skill 3+, strength 5, armor piercing -2 and 2 damage. Lovely. They're going to kill pretty much anything you chuck them at, to be honest. They're very, very nice. They're kind of like your heavy hitting units in a Slaanesh army. Soporific Musk, again a classic. It's an aura ability. While an enemy unit, excluding vehicle and titanic units, is within 6 inches of this unit, each time a model in that enemy unit makes a melee attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And each time a model in that unit takes a desperate escape test, subtract 1 from the test. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It basically neuters certain enemy units where the fiends are nearby. I'd be taking a lot of these guys in a Slaanesh demon army, quite frankly. And I mean a lot of them. Got your Seekers, which are your Demonettes on steeds. These guys are fast as hell. 14 inches. Toughness 4, because they're mounts. They've got 2 wounds, which is nice, and they're 5+ invulnerable. So now they've got the standard slashing claws of the Demonettes, 3 attacks each, and also 2 attacks with the lashing tongue of the steed. So they gain extra attacks and lethal hits. That's nice. That's really, really nice. They also have Unholy Speed. You can reroll advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Lovely. They're a really good, really fast cavalry unit. And they're going to make mincemeat of anything they hit, basically. Again, they're so fast, you're definitely going to be wanting a lot of these. I would take a lot of these in a Slaanesh demon army. Just to close with the enemy and harass them. That's what they're for. We've got the classic war engine of Slaanesh, the mower, the lawnmower of Slaanesh, the Hellflayer. Moves really fast, 14 inches. Toughness 6, save 5+. It's got a 4+ invulnerable save, which is very nice. Has the Lashes of Torment from the previous Herald, which is lovely. It also has lots of melee weapons, so it gets extra attacks with its bladed axle, 6 of them. Weapon skill 3+, strength 6, armor piercing -1, damage 2, nothing to sneeze at. It also gains 4 extra attacks from the Seeker Tongues, which have lethal hits, obviously, so that's 10 standard, and then it gains 9 attacks from the Demonette's Slashing Claws, which have devastating wounds. So 19 attacks this thing is putting out. Madness! This thing is insane! These Slaanesh war engines are brilliant! They are absolutely brilliant! I mean, I'm actually really kind of excited about Slaanesh demons in 10th ed. They look really good. They look really good. Having read the index, excuse me, I've got a coffee. I'm so into that. I would love to have like a really lightning fast Slaanesh demon army that just has chariots, cavalry, and very fast characters. I think that would be awesome. And it'd be a really weird, interesting army in 40k as well. It has a special rule, cutting down the foe. Each time this unit is selected to fight, you can select one enemy unit within engagement range of it and roll 1 die 6. Adding 2 to the result if that unit is an infantry unit. On a 2 to 3, the enemy unit suffers die 3 mortal wounds. On a 4 to 5, the enemy unit suffers 3 mortal wounds. On a 6+, the enemy unit suffers die 3 + 3 mortal wounds. So not only does it put out horrendous amounts of attacks, it also inflicts mortal wounds when it charges, when it's within engagement range. Madness. It's a real... If you take like a few of these things in a Slaanesh demon army, they're going to be putting out the hurt, I'm telling you. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I love that. And I like the Hellflayer anyway. It's a lovely model. So, we've got your classic, the Seeker Chariot, which is basically like the Hellflayer. It doesn't have the bladed axle on the back. Again, Lashes of Torment. You've got the extra attacks from the Seeker Tongues. Again, it's got 4. And you've got the Slashing Claws of the Demonettes, 9. So again, loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of attacks. You've got Scythed Impact. Each time this unit makes a charge move until the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the anti-infantry 4+ ability. So, if you charge this unit into an enemy infantry unit, they're going to be doing extra hits on infantry. Lovely. I mean, wow. This seems to be what Slaanesh is all about. It's all about speed, being able to get the charges off, and then doing horrendous numbers of attacks. It's lovely. It's lovely stuff. And the fact you can take like 2 in a unit and then add an Exalted Seeker Chariot as well, that's pretty damn cool. Speaking of the Exalted Seeker Chariot, that's up next. It's got more wounds, 12 wounds, this thing. Very, very nice. The Exalted Seeker Tongues are a bit nastier. And this has the Slashing Claws. It has 8 attacks, 8 extra attacks with the Exalted Seeker Tongues. Madness. And 14 Slashing Claws attacks with devastating wounds. Again, it's a bit mad, to be honest. Infernal Engines of Torment. In the fight phase, after this model has finished making its attacks, if one or more enemy units were destroyed as a result of those attacks, every enemy unit within 6 inches of this model must take a battle shock test. Again, being able to inflict battle shock tests is crazy in 10th ed. So, thinking about your tactics and maneuvering these units, the Exalted Seeker Chariot, so that they can charge an enemy unit that's easily destroyed in one round of combat, and which is in close proximity to other enemy units to force battle shock tests. That's what you're going to want to be doing here. Lovely. Lovely, lovely unit. Baylor first of all, before we get on to the undivided units, that's Slaanesh. And for me, Slaanesh and Tzeentch win out here. Khorne and Nurgle are very good as well, but Khorne and Nurgle, they've got built-in limitations that make them a bit more difficult to use. Slaanesh is amazing. I can really see some killer armies coming out of the Slaanesh demons in 10th ed. They've got a lot of very interesting, very unusual, highly unique builds with all the chariots and the mounted units and whatnot. Love them. Absolutely love them. And I tell you what, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to start a Slaanesh demon army on the basis of this. You've also got your undivided units. So we've got the Dark Master himself, the big bad Baelakor, the ultimate demon prince. And what a monster he is. He's kind of like a Primarch killer. That's kind of his thing. 12 moves 12 inches, only toughness 10, which is surprising. I thought he'd be up there with the Primarchs, the Demon Primarchs, so he'd at least be toughness 11, but no, apparently not. 4+ save, 18 wounds, pretty good. Pretty good. Not as good as some of the greater demons, but pretty good. 4+ invulnerable, obviously. He's got a awful, nasty, mean-spirited psychic power, which is called Betraying Shades. 2 profiles, Witch Firepower. Normal one has devastating wounds, ignores cover and psychic. Range 8 inches, attacks 9 standard. Ballistic skill 2+, strength 5, armor piercing 2, damage 1. The focused Witch Firepower has the hazardous special rule, but also has 12 attacks, strength 6, and armor piercing -3. Pretty damn nasty, let's be honest. Really pretty nasty. His melee weapons, he's got that classic Blade of Shadows, which has a strike and sweep ability. The strike has lethal hits, 6 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 14, armor piercing -4, and damage die 6 +1. So, yeah, he's killing stuff. He's going to kill stuff. The sweep, he has 14 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 8, armor piercing -3, and damage 1. He is like a lot of the big monsters, the Primarch level monsters. He's going to be killing anything he touches. He's got shadow form abilities, like all of the Primarch level characters. He's got a list of 3 abilities that you can select from, which is very, very nice. He's got Wreathed in Shadows, which is a psychic aura. While a friendly Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, that unit can only be targeted by a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 18 inches. Lovely. Really, really good for a demon army in 40k. It makes them much more difficult to be shot off the field as they're approaching the enemy. Pall of Despair, another psychic aura. In the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit that is below its starting strength is within 6 inches of this model, that unit must take a battle shock test. For the purposes of this ability, if a unit has a starting strength of 1, it is considered to be below its starting strength while it has lost 1 or more wounds. So yeah, he can force battle shock tests, which is really, really nice. Shadow Lord, another psychic aura. While a friendly Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, you can reroll battle shock and leadership tests taken for that unit. Very, very good. All of those abilities are great. All of them. I can see how you would use each and every one in a battle. He's solid. He's absolutely solid, and he is kind of a competitor to Abaddon now. That's what's so lovely about him. What else does he have? Oh, he has the stealth ability built in as well. That's nice. The Dark Master, another aura. The area of the battlefield within 6 inches of this model is considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos. So he carries the Shadow of Chaos with him. That's lovely. That's really... He's a monster. He is one of the better big special characters in the game. Let's be honest, he's a beast. The only ones who go toe-to-toe with him are the likes of Magnus, who is also a beast. You've also got your Soul Grinder, the classic, big artillery piece for the demons. Needs an updated model, let's be honest. Never liked it in the first place, but it needs updating these days. Moves 8 inches, so it's quite fast. Toughness 11. Save 3+, good in the Demon Codex. 14 wounds, which is very nice. 4+ invulnerable. Has a lot of ranged weapons. A Harvester Cannon, which is ranged 36 inches. Very nice. 3 attacks. Ballistic skill 3+, strength 10. Armor piercing -1 and damage 3. It's a nice gun, that one. Torrent of Burning Blood. Lovely. Ignores cover, torrent, range 12 inches, 2d6 attack, strength 5, armor piercing 1, -1, and damage 1. It's very nice. Phlegm bombardment. Blech, love it. Blast, indirect fire, lethal hits. Indirect fire is really good in 10th ed. Even with the, the updates to it, it's still really good. 36 inches, attacks die 6 +1, ballistic skill 3+, strength 7, armor piercing -1, damage 2. Very nice. And warp gaze, blast. Range 48 inches rather. Attacks die 3, ballistic skill 3+, strength 12, armor piercing 2, and damage die 6 +2. So this guy is actually really useful in the demon armies. He brings much needed long range support, which all of the demon armies need. Even Tzeentch needs it. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty ubiquitous. You are going to be taking this guy for its long range capabilities. That's pretty much it. Although, that said, it's no slouch in melee. It's got its Iron Claw, which he has 5 attacks with, weapon skill 3+, strength 16, armor piercing -3, and damage die 6 +2. Monstrous. That's going to be killing a lot of stuff. And then it has extra attacks depending on what you take for it, whether you take the Warp Sword or the Warp Claw. If you take the Warp Claw, it gets 6, and it has weapon skill 3+, strength 8, armor piercing -1, and damage 2 straight. Nice. Very nice. And if you take the Warp Sword, it gets 3 extra attacks, which is weapon skill 3+, strength 8, armor piercing -2, and damage die 6. So either way, it's pretty damn good. I'd go for the Claw myself for the 6 extra attacks, which means that this guy will be doing 11 attacks, which is pretty damn good. But really, the reason you're going to be taking them is because they give support. They give support to the units that need them. It's pretty good. Oh, and you get the different abilities depending on what demonic allegiance they have. That's pretty cool. So Khorne, it's the Torrent of Burning Blood. Tzeentch, it's the Warp Gaze. Nurgle, it's the Phlegm Bombardment. And Slaanesh, it's the Scream of Despair. Nice. We've got, of course, the Demon Prince of Chaos. That beautiful new model. By the way, woof. That model, the new Demon Prince model, is gorgeous. It is gorgeous, and they're very good. Demon Princes across the board in every army. One thing I love that they've done with the Demon Princes, as we talked about in the Heretic Astartes video, the Demon Princes are all unique. They're all different. I love that. I love that. So these guys move 8 inches, even if they don't have wings, so that's nice. Toughness 10, save 2+, wounds 10, very nice. With a 4+ invulnerable, they get an infernal cannon, which is a range 24 inches. 3 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 5, armor piercing -1, damage 2. Some much needed mid to long range support in the demon army. They have their Hellforged weapons, which is a unified profile with a strike and a sweep. The strike, 6 attacks, weapon skill 2+, strength 8, armor piercing -2, damage 3. And the sweep attacks 14, weapon skill 2+, strength 6, armor piercing 0, damage 1. But even so, I mean, these guys have had a massive glow up in 10th ed. They are ace. They are ace. Demon Prince of Khorne, you add 2 to the strength characteristic of the model's Hellforged weapons. Demon Prince of Tzeentch, add 3 attacks to the attacks characteristic of the model's Infernal Cannon, so it gets even more long-range firepower. Demon Prince of Nurgle, add 1 to its toughness characteristic, so it becomes even tougher. And Demon Prince of Slaanesh, add 2 inches to this model's move characteristic, so it gets even faster. On top of that, it has the Prince of Darkness, Aura. While this friendly Legionnaires Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, models in that unit have the stealth ability! Oh, that's really good! That's really good as a buff for your nearby demon units. That's really nice. As a commander model, this guy's ace. Unholy Vigor. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, this model can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, this model has a 3+ invulnerable save. Bloody lovely. Really, really nice. So you've got a different profile for the Demon Prince with wings, which is nice. It moves 12 inches now and can fly. pretty much all of the same abilities, except it has Malefic Destruction. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, this model can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 3 to the attacks characteristic of this model's Hellforged weapons. Ouch! Also, Harbinger of Death. Each time this model is selected to fight, select one of the following abilities. Until the end of the phase, this model's Hellforged weapons have that ability. Lethal hits, precision, or sustained hits 1. So the Winged Demon Prince is less of a buffing model and more of a meat grinder. So you have to make that decision. What I love about that is, in previous editions, there was no reason not to take the Winged Demon Prince. Just no reason not whatsoever. The one on foot was just inferior. But now, the one on foot does something different. That's what's so lovely. I can so see why you would take the Demon Prince on foot, and that is a brilliant, brilliant thing. So that's the Demons Index. They are going to be very interesting in 10th ed. They've always had a problem, Demons, in 40k, in the sense that they are kind of like a fantasy battle army operating in the science fiction setting. They've never had like the long range firepower or the defense against it to make them that viable. This is really good. I'd say this is almost as good as they've ever been in 40k, to be perfectly honest. They got a glow up last time in 9th ed. That was a very good codex. This is really excellent. The mono god armies have certain benefits and deficits that you need to work around. I would say the one that comes out the worst is probably, or at least the most difficult, is probably Nurgle, simply because Nurgle miniatures are very slow, and they don't have the damage output of, say, Khorne or Slaanesh, or the long-range firepower of Tzeentch. That's not to say they're bad at all, they're not, but you've just got to use them in a very particular way. You've really got to rely upon the synergies of characters and units and aura abilities and whatnot to make them viable. It's very exciting, this one. I mean, I love these indices. I've got to say, I'm really, really very, very excited by the shape of Chaos in 10th ed thus far. And this is great. This is really wonderful. Not only can I see how demons are absolutely viable now in 10th ed, I can see how they're actually pretty good. And not only that, but the fact that they can be used to make Chaos Soup armies. So you can take, like, you know, Tzeentch demons in Thousand Suns armies, or Khorne demons in World Eater armies. I love that. I love that to bits, and it makes it all so much fun. You know, I'm more excited for the hobby than I've been in a long time, I'll be perfectly honest. And I can see myself actually getting into this. I kind of want a Slaanesh demon army now. I kind of do. Oh dear, I'm going to have to watch that. I really, really am. Well, guys, next time round, I think we'll go for the next sort of Chaos Undivided index. So we will do the Chaos Knights next, which are also very, very interesting indeed. And also function a bit like demons in the sense that you can soup them with other Chaos armies, which is really, really nice. So, until then, my loves, bye-bye!